There's been a lot of talk about the American M1A1 and the Bradley for Team Yankee, but not so much about the new Apache helicopter. I thought I'd take a look at the kit and see how it'll perform on the table. So join me for a look inside the box. This is the AH-64 Apache helicopter platoon box for US forces in Team Yankee. Apache was designed from the outset as an attack helicopter, with a particular emphasis on the anti-tank role. Apache, along with the Bradley IFE, have been high on US players' wish lists. It'll be particularly welcome now as Soviet players get access to more heavily armoured tanks. The box contains a flight of 2 Apache helicopters. The US Army issued a request for proposal for a successor to the AH-1 Cobra in the anti-armour role in 1972. Hughes designed the prototype AH-64, which would beat out a Bell design to become the Apache. Apache is a 2-man attack helicopter with twin turboshaft engines driving a 4-bladed rotor. The helicopter design used the AGM-114 Hellfire missile for the anti-armour role. The laser-guided missile was guided onto the target by the sensor suite in the helicopter's nose. Up to 16 Hellfires can be carried. Other weapons included a 30mm cannon under the nose, which can be aimed by a head-mounted display. Usual weapon loadout is 8 Hellfires, 2 Hydra rocket pods and the 30mm cannon. The Apache entered service in 1986 and is used by a number of countries including the UK, Israel, the Netherlands, India and Singapore. The AH-64D made several improvements. The most notable is the longbow millimetre wave fire control radar mounted above the rotors. This raised position allows the helicopter to track targets while most of the helicopter is concealed behind terrain. If we look at the back of the box, there are images of 2 completed kits. One is the AH-64 and the other is the AH-64D longbow variant. Battlefront packaging usually includes an exploded assembly diagram on the back. However, these just wouldn't fit on the box, so they're included as a printed instruction sheet inside. This is just a small double-sided page with the AH-64 assembly on one side and the longbow on the other. The box contains parts for 2 Apache helicopters, 2 flight stands, 2 rare earth magnets, the assembly guide, and a single unit card. There are no decals supplied. The US decal pack is now a separate product available for purchase. Let's look at the plastic. Each Apache comes on 2 sprues of the bilious green US plastic. The mouldings are crisp and clear without any flash. Level of detail looks good. The parts engineering also looks good with tabs and slots for positioning on most parts. This first sprue has the fuselage halves, tail rotor and weapons. The undercarriage is moulded onto the fuselage pieces. This should make it more durable than separate parts, as well as simplifying assembly and keeping the parts count low. The weapons here are the AGM-114 Hellfire anti-tank missiles, the 30mm chain gun and optional Stinger AA missiles. The kit includes the standard loadout of Hellfire missiles, Hydra rockets and 30mm gun. The Stinger missiles are the only optional weapons. The second sprue has the rotor blades, avionics blisters, winglets and the engine exhausts. There are 2 options for the hull-mounted avionics blisters. The smaller set are for the original AH-64 model, while the larger set are for the upgraded AH-64D. This sprue also has the optional longbow radar for the AH-64D variant. This fits on top of the rotor assembly. I've heard good things about the rotor system on this kit. The 2 rotor blade parts are single pieces which overlap at the rotor head, making a strong and secure join. This fits onto a central rotor pylon and into the fuselage. The buzz is that this is a pretty robust system, much better than the notoriously fragile separate rotors on the older Hind kit. The Hydra rockets are on this sprue, moulded integral with their pylons. The twin engine nacelles with intakes and exhausts are here too. So those are the kit parts. In all, this looks great. A sturdier rotor assembly, weapons mounted with their pylons and other engineering choices to simplify construction and limit the parts count are all welcome features of this kit. These simplifications we're seeing on their later kits reflect Battlefront's growing experience with plastic wargaming kits. So Battlefront have done a great job on the parts. Let's look at using Apache on the table. The AH-64 is a helicopter aircraft unit. It gets the Hunter-Killer and thermal imaging special rules. Hunter-Killer means the helicopter counts as concealed when within 4 inches of tall terrain. Note this doesn't say intervening terrain, but the concealment section on page 2 of FM 101 clarifies that the terrain needs to be between the helicopter and the enemy team to have any effect. Hunter-Killer also means the chopper remains gone to ground when moving. This models the NATO helicopter doctrine of stalking Soviet armour and firing from concealment. Thermal imaging allows Apache to roll 2 dice for night visibility and choose the highest score. It also suffers no to hit penalty for firing at night or through smoke. Courage, skill and morale are all 4+. Apache is also hit on a 4+ and has a 4+ aircraft save. Movement is of course unlimited on the table and cross is automatic. This quickly brings us to the weapon stat lines. The AGM-114 Hellfire missile has a minimum range of 16 inches or 40 centimetres. You don't want to get too close to your target or you can't fire, but the missile reaches out to 64 inches or 160 centimetres. That's over 5 feet across the table, so you can really reach out with these, particularly since terrain doesn't obscure line of sight for aircraft. The missiles can only be fired from the Holt with a rate of fire 1. This is a bit of a limitation, particularly if you only have a 2-chopper flight. That's a lot of points for not many shots. Despite the higher points cost, these will be more effective as a 4-aircraft flight. Hellfires do have a big punch. Anti-tank is 25 with a 3+ firepower. The missile has a big warhead, and you're going to need tools like this to deal with newer opponents like the T-80 with front armour 20. The special rules for Hellfire are guided and heat. Guided means no to hit penalty firing at targets over 16 inches. That's good given that's the missile's minimum range. It also means you can't attack infantry with Hellfire unless they're stationary and bulletproof cover. Heat means the target armour value is not increased for targets over 16 inches range. However, heat warheads are affected by applique, bazooka skirts, ERA, BDD and cobham armour. For close-in work, the M230 30mm chain gun has a 6-inch or 15cm range. This is a single-barrel gun mounted under the helicopter's nose, aimed via a helmet-mounted sight. Its rate of fire is 6 or 3 if it's moving. Anti-tank is 8 with a 5+ firepower. This will be good at dealing with APC and lighter vehicles. The primary round is high explosive dual purpose, so it does get the heat rule, which means it's affected by applique, bazooka skirts, ERA, BDD and cobham armour. It also gets anti-helicopter, so you can fire the chain gun at enemy helicopters if you need to. The last stat is for the M159 rocket launcher. This is a 19-cell launcher for the 2.75-inch Hydra 70 unguided rocket. In Team Yankee, these function as a single-shot artillery salvo weapon with a 16-inch or 40cm range. Their anti-tank is 4, with a firepower of 6. This would be useful against infantry in the open or against the top armour of vehicles. Apache carries 2 of these launchers, giving a total of 38 rockets. All these are expended in the one-shot salvo attack. Apache is a very capable platform, but it doesn't come cheap. It's a divisional level support element for US forces. You can take up to 2 units of 4 Apaches or AH-1 Cobra helicopters. If we look at the unit, you can take 2 Apaches for 12 points, or 4 for 24 points. So if you wanted to, you could have up to 8 Apaches in support, but it would cost 48 points to do it. Hellfires have a good AT value to take on T-80s, but each helicopter only fires 1 missile per turn. You'll have to judge if you want to tie that much of your points budget into this unit. So that's the Apache for Team Yankee. Like the Bradley, US players have been waiting for this since the original release of the game. The kit looks great, but it's huge when compared to vehicle models in the game. The robust rotor design will be welcome, as this has been a weak point of some previous Team Yankee helicopter kits. Overall, the thoughtful engineering of all the kit parts make this a great kit. The AT-25 of the Hellfire missile will be welcomed as US players grapple with the new T-80's front armour. TOW-2s with AT-23 and the AT-27 of the A-10 Warthog's Maverick missiles give them a few other high AT systems. Expect to see most US lists include at least one of these options in future. However, Apache is versatile, able to fall back on the gun and rocket salvo as well for other situations in the game. This might help tip the balance in their favour, but at 6 points each you're unlikely to see 8 choppers on the table. That's a lot of points to drop on a support unit, particularly with the plethora of Soviet AA units wanting to shoot them up.